In February of 2018, Shigeru Miyamoto told the press that the marketing strategy going forward is to instill a desire to purchase Nintendo Switch among a wide consumer base in all regions of Japan, the US, and Europe. Our ultimate ambition is for a Nintendo Switch to be owned not just by every family, but by every single person. And on July 10th of 2019, Nintendo took the next step to making that a reality by finally announcing the long-rumored smaller iteration on Nintendo's hybrid console, now officially known as the Nintendo Switch Lite. One can only assume, and rumors seem to confirm, that this family will only keep growing to at least later include a further upgraded version of the current Switch model. These are all very interesting to talk about, but are they for you? In what circumstances would it be a good or bad idea to buy one, the other, or multiple of these Switch SKUs? Let's talk about it. If you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you're either a newly or longtime prospective Switch owner, a current Switch owner, or even a nice person who's interested in this topic purely for entertainment and wants to support FanatixFour by watching the entire length of the video, clicking the like button, commenting below, and sharing the video with your friends in an attempt to ingratiate our channel to the fickle YouTube algorithm. But no matter which of these three you are, Nintendo is trying to make a Switch of some sort for you. First, though, let's talk about what's different between the Switch that's in stores at the moment and the upcoming Switch Lite. The Switch Lite is filling the gap that's being left by the increasingly irrelevant 3DS family, and similar to the 2DS iteration of the 3DS line, it does remove some functionality in favor of a smaller model and lower price point. While the Switch was created largely for its primary mechanic of being a hybrid and transitioning between being a home console and a handheld one, the Switch Lite is exclusively a handheld. We were told it does not slot into your dock, does not have a kickstand, and unlike the removable Joy-Con controllers, the Switch Lite is one complete unit with integrated controls, and seems to likely not even connect to external controllers, although this part is not fully confirmed. On the note of it being a fully integrated unit, the benefit from the system not being able to share the joy, as it were, is that there is now an actual D-pad on the console when playing handheld, which is a dream come true for many of us. The console is also only a little bit smaller than the current Switch, at a 5.5-inch screen rather than the 6.2-inch screen that we have now. This does help with portability and helps screen resolution by increasing pixel density, and yet is big enough that games like Breath of the Wild and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will still be rewarding to play without having to squint. This console also boasts a longer battery life, for example, 4 hours of Breath of the Wild rather than the 3 on the current Switch. Finally, two other functions taken away for this model is the lack of HD rumble and the IR sensor on the right Joy-Con. One of these is a complete non-issue for practically everyone, and the other is a bit of a shame. The IR sensor was used in fewer than 10 games out of the more than 2,000 currently available on the Switch, so that's really no big loss. The HD rumble, on the other hand, is a bit of a pity, as it's a cool function, but is fairly expensive to produce and was a necessary loss to achieve the sub-$200 price point, which is actually the biggest deal of this console. The lowered price point was really the goal the whole time. The death of the 3DS would be leaving a gap of cheaper consoles with great games for parents to pick up for one or more children, handheld-only gamers who don't want to pay in excess for the docking functionality of the Switch that they won't use, and even of greater impulse buy potentiality at a lower price. Now, what you'll likely notice is you may not be one of the people on that list. What you may be looking for or hoping for instead is something else that's been rumored for a while, and that is the Switch Pro. There have been some rumors here and there about this one, but lots of them seem to not quite match up. So we'll just talk about what's most likely, especially considering Nintendo's past. So far, the Switch family has followed quite closely to the production of the 3DS family. In 2011, the 3DS was released, followed in the tail end of 2012 by the 3DS XL, which was primarily an upgrade to screen size. We haven't seen this evolution with the Switch, but arguably a larger screen with equal power would be somewhat unnecessary. In late 2014, however, came the 2DS, which took away several functionalities of the 3DS, including the clamshell design, some screen real estate was lost, and most important of all, the 3D was gone. This iteration was a big deal because it made for incredibly easy buys at its low price point, and the Switch Lite is attempting to do the same. A year later, in 2015, the new Nintendo 3DS and 3DS XL released, and within months, the original 3DS and XL were taken out of production in favor of this newer console that boasted slightly higher power, a new little nub thing, and general improved functionality. This, I believe, is what we can expect with the Switch Pro. And for that reason, I think the term Pro would be a bit of an exaggeration. Most of the games on the Switch that are graphically intensive run at a dynamic resolution, and to me this very strongly signifies that a slightly upgraded Switch will come down the line and render these dynamic resolutions even more beneficial, as games like Mario Odyssey, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and more will have fewer dips and be more graphically appealing versions of the exact same games. But how does this affect this conversation? Well, mostly that it seems fairly likely that we'll have to continue waiting for the Switch Pro for likely another year or so, in my opinion. And this is echoed in a quote made by Doug Bowser on the day of the Switch Lite reveal, that the Switch Lite is the only new console Nintendo is releasing this holiday 2019. And then when it does come, I think it will completely replace the original Switch in production line, like the new 3DS line did, rather than standing alongside it forever. So how should this affect you as a consumer? Well, let's go through a few scenarios. First off, let's say you are currently a prospective Switch owner. This could take a couple of different forms. In this corner, you may be an Ashley or a Chad. Ashley, my wife, plays games a little bit, largely 2D Mario, Mario Kart, and some Donkey Kong. But currently, she just plays on my Switch, and admittedly, not quite enough to really warrant her having a full Switch of her own. Chad, on the other hand, is my good friend who is an avid gamer, but mostly plays on his Xbox One, and as a huge Zelda fan, has already played Breath of the Wild on his Wii U. So he's decided not to bite the Switch bullet until the Switch Pro comes out, seemingly because he doesn't want to get stuck with buyer's remorse when it theoretically inevitably is released the day after he buys a standard Switch. If you're an Ashley, then I think this conversation has an obvious answer. The Switch Lite was made completely with you in mind. There are a lot of primarily handheld gamers, and I've even found that I'm one, considering that I use my Switch about 80% in handheld mode. So if that's you, then I think this is an easy and quick answer. Buy a Switch Lite. The game library is incredible, the form factor is comfortable and sleek, and you won't believe some of the games that you're holding in your hands as you're playing them. And it's very cheap for such a powerful console. On the other hand, if you're a Chad, this might take a bit more consideration, but I would actually recommend buying in now as well. The game library and console speak for themselves, but the primary fear seems to be the buyer's remorse, so let me speak to that a moment. If we can go by the 3DS timeline and Doug Bowser's quote, which I think is safe, then there is no point besides the launch of the Switch and now that you can feel safest buying one of these consoles without another new one being announced the next day. But more importantly, if you enjoy handheld gaming at all, which is the only reason you'd even consider buying a Switch Lite, then there are two really easy scenarios that may ease your mind. The first scenario is that if an upgraded Switch does get announced within months of your purchase, you can always trade in your current model and buy the new one. GameStop currently will let you trade your Switch in for $200, or you can sell it for a bit more to the right buyer with a bit more work. And that $100 seems like a fair enough cost for getting to start buying into games you love now, rather than having to wait for a rumored future date that may never come. Carpe diem, as they say. But there's a more interesting consideration to me. With a cheaper console, it's even more feasible to have one handheld console and one TV one. Many Switch users never take it out of the dock, and the converse is just as true. With cloud saves and being able to game share, Nintendo has made it possible to easily facilitate this transition. I'll probably do a bit of a guide closer to the Switch Lite release date, and you'll need the Nintendo Switch Online service to best do this, but the best way to go about it would be to keep your portable Switch as your primary. And then on your home console, you'll be able to log into that same account. Once you've done this, you can re-download any of your digital purchases to it, and as long as the same online account is connected to both, you'll be able to upload your save to the cloud at the end of a session, then download it on the other console to keep it going. For any games that support cloud saves, that is, which is most of them. To me, this is both a convenient and exciting way to interact with the Switch. Your powerful one won't risk getting damaged, and you have the cheaper and more portable form factor with you wherever you go. The last kind of prospective owner is someone who will be buying as a gift. This is incredibly straightforward. If the person you care about wants a Switch, but you don't want to spend $300, but you're willing to spend $200, go for it. It's as simple as that. But what about if you are already a current Switch owner? Actually, the same scenario as I'd recommend for Chad could be applicable here too. Perhaps you'd want a separate docked and portable Switch, and having both would suit those needs. If so, keep subscribed to this channel for more content regarding how to facilitate that switch. Otherwise, maybe you don't really care about the ability to dock HD Rumble, playing local multiplayer, and are excited about longer battery life and a D-pad. If you play the Switch exclusively handheld, then you'll be seemingly able to trade in your current Switch to get a Switch Lite at zero cost. If this sounds like you, this is a no-brainer. But finally, you may be someone who just isn't sure that any of these sound like where you stand. You like being able to switch the console, you play handheld but also docked, enjoy the HD Rumble, and so on. If so, then here are my two recommendations. First of all, perhaps the Switch Lite isn't for you, and it's worth just enjoying what you have for now, but maybe it's an opportunity to reach out and get someone else involved in this experience and community you obviously enjoy being a part of. That might mean buying it as a birthday or Christmas gift for somebody else you care about, or even just sharing the information with someone you know that would fall into the former camp, like an Ashley or a Chad. And the other suggestion is, in light of some negativity I've seen online about the Switch Lite losing features and obviously not being targeted at the person who is complaining, even if it's not for you, be encouraging and welcoming to those that it is targeted at. We're about to see a whole lot more kids, more casual gamers, more spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, and a whole lot more all join the family. So stand by them as they come alongside us. I've actually created a playlist of other videos that will help you or others you know get introduced to more aspects of the Switch, including the best games to buy for cheap, how to game share, and learn more about the Switch Lite. So click on that playlist right now or when you're done with this video. And that counts especially if you're that last kind of person we talked about earlier. The kind of person that has absolutely no interest in the Switch, but is here because it's fun and because you want to support FanatixFour. This is probably the most important category of all. If this is you, then do click on that playlist. But first, which color of Switch Lite would you be most interested in, and what color do you think they should add? Let me know all that and more down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, like the video and subscribe to FanatixFour for more videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time from AJ and myself. And we'll talk about some of your comments on our podcast directly to you, which is this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube and all podcast platforms. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you around. Hasta la pasta.